This is the Lockpicker 1969 and welcome to my channel. For part 3 of the Cutting Edge video series, I wanted to share knives in my collection I picked up on Amazon and flea markets over the years, as well as gifts from people. A lot of them are novelty knives that I thought were cool along the way, but they really serve no other purpose and are not really practical to carry. If I go back to probably one of the oldest ones I've had for a long time is this Sharp brand pocket knife. It's a folding lock blade made of stainless steel. Very nice, some type of a wood grain looking handle on it, but has always been exceptionally sharp. It has been sharpened a lot over the years, but I carried this knife for a very long time. It came with this Sharp case, and I carried it on the belt for some time. So, yep, as you know from previous videos, I love lock blades with the release at the back of the handle. So that this knife had a lot of use over the years. These two little ones here, this is a Gerber. Like I said, I love Gerber blades. This is just a tiny little pocket knife. I got this as a gift. I can't remember from whom, but it is a small little knife that can go on your belt. Is pretty sharp, does have the little like saw type edge on it for things, but just a cool little pocket knife to carry around. It does require you to unlock the blade at the bottom of the handle, which I don't really care for, but it's a small knife, so kind of a cool little blade there. I picked up this, I can't remember where actually. It says CRKT on the handle or on the blade. It is a flip open type knife with the thumb, or you can flip it open with your hand. It's got it has a very nicely curved blade on it. This handle looks like I can't even know what this is really made from, but I've seen lock picks actually made with this material, and the name escapes me at the moment, but it also has the belt clip on it, which is nice. And the only thing I don't like is that you have to release the blade by pushing on this little section here, which is pretty rough to push in, but it does fold up nice, and it is a nice little belt carry type thing. Honestly, I liked the look on all of that a little too much to carry it and risk losing it, so didn't really carry it too much, but it was a nice one to have in the collection. Now, something I did pick up at a flea market was this little knife. It's a novelty knife. It's got this dragon design on it. It does clip to your belt. One of the things I don't like about these knives and others like them are these rivets. They do come loose. They have to be tightened on a periodic basis to keep everything intact. But it does flip open with just flicking your finger down, and it does have this nice pointed blade on it that you can basically control. What I don't like, again, is it has this bottom release for releasing the blade, but on the blade it indicates Fantasy Line 440 stainless steel USA design, but it's made in China. So, you know, it is what it is. It does have the little break glass little point on it, so if you did happen to be carrying this and needed to break glass, you could. If I look at this next one, I purchased this as a pair. There's the same exact design on this handle as well. It's called Tac Force, which this one is also Tac Force Speedster model. And what this has on it a little differently than that one, that makes it a little bit more of a decent kind of a utility knife if you wanted to carry something this nice on you. But it does have the flip open blade aspect of it. It is a Sharp blade on there, and it does say that it is high carbon steel. So the other aspect of this knife, besides the fact that it too has the break glass little point on it, it does have the hook on there with the blade in it. So if you needed to cut through a rope or a seat belt or something of that nature, this does provide you the ability to do that. Now, there was a period of time where back in the day I was purchasing knives in bulk. So these three here represent some knives that I bought in bulk. You would get like 10 of them in a box, and I would just give them away as gifts to friends and that sort of thing. And somebody said, hey, you got a knife, and I would throw them a box with one of these in it and say, here, keep it. But so just a little nice little pocket knife. These are always really sharp. They hold their edge really well. It is a lock blade. It does lock in the back of the handle, which is something I like, and it clips on the belt pretty easily. The only thing I don't like is these rivets. You can't retighten them. When they do get kind of loose, then you have to worry about it coming away from your belt and losing the knife. But hey, it was a freebie. So there is some rubberized portion on the handle, which makes it, on one side anyways, that makes it nicer to be able to just hold on to when you're using it. These little knives, I got, I think, 20 of them all at once in a box to give away. These here, it's stainless steel, but it's just a little tiny little pocket knife. It is a lock blade, which was nice. It does like hook onto a keychain, so it can be, you know, just sit there and useful. Just don't accidentally go to the airport with this on your keychain. Anyway, these, similar to this, there were like 10 of these in a box. They're a little bit larger. This one's pretty beat up, and this is the last one I had, but it's got a decent saw blade on it, which is nice, a nice point, and there isn't a whole lot of blade to this, but for using it for like utility purposes, you can put it on the belt. This one's obviously gotten pretty loose over the years, but like other lock blades, it does release the blade by pushing on the lock in the back to get it unlocked. These two were ones that I just kind of handed out and gave away to people when they asked me if I had a knife on me to help them out with. These were purchased just out of curiosity, but they're made in China. Unfortunately, it is not a lock blade. Well, it is a lock blade, but it doesn't lock very well. It's an okay blade. The saw portion of it leaves a bit to be desired. It will allow you to flip it open, but you'd have to loosen this up a bit to let the blade be free enough to flip open and in place. And because it doesn't lock open very well, I don't typically want to rely on this blade being that loose and that much trouble getting it to lock in place. Because if you can look in here, you can see that this piece of metal that's supposed to hold the blade locked open, it barely is on top of that blade, and with enough force, this will close on you. So, but like I said, it does have the belt clip on it, and it is it's not really rubber. I don't know what this is, just plastic, but it's made in China, and you get what you pay for. This is a very similar one to this, same style. Also has the you can flip the blade open, although this one does seem to lock in place a bit better. It still unlocks using the bottom part of the handle, which I don't particularly care for, but as just a cheap pocket knife that you don't care if you're going to lose, it's one of those ones I picked up for kind of that reason. This knife here was, again, another novelty knife. I picked it up on Amazon years ago, maybe like 20 years ago. It has a very nice sized blade. It can be flicked open with your thumb, or you can get it open pretty easily. Has the same problem some of these other ones do with these rivets that come loose and you have to keep them tightened. I have like a couple of these where the rivets have come out or whatever that I've kept for parts just to keep, you know. I've got another one that's in a case that's brand new that hasn't even been touched, but I did carry this for a little while. But yeah, it was a bit too hefty of a knife to really carry a whole lot. It does come with a belt clip. It's got this nice arched saw blade kind of thing on it, which is kind of nice. It gives you a lot of blade here, and this is still very sharp, but it fits well in your hand and pretty comfortable. So let me close this up. And it's got a little bit of heft to it anyways. It does say stainless steel on it for the blade, but so my brother back in 2015 wanted to give me a gift, and he basically gifted me a knife he had already. It does flick open with this here. So to go with that again, you just push on there and it comes open. I thought it was kind of just a cool little novelty knife. You see the skeleton in the handle, and it says Punisher on there. The blade has some kind of paint, I think it's on there, and you know, it's held up. The edge on the blade is pretty sharp, but ultimately, you know, you've got the glass breaking thing on here. Ultimately, this really wasn't much of a knife that I felt like I could really carry and get a whole lot of use of. So it's just, it has stayed in the collection, and my brother had etched something into here when he gave it to me for my birthday. This I picked up at a flea market. Nice little novelty knife. It does lock so that it can't be opened, but when it is unlocked, it's similar to, I guess, a switchblade. What I don't like about this is the blade kind of feels pretty flimsy when it's open, and it does not lock in place. So this blade will come down on your hand if you're not careful. But it's like I said, it's a novelty knife. It was kind of cool. I saw it at the flea market. It didn't cost much, so I picked one up. At the time, I had found these Smith & Wesson knives, which I was kind of surprised to see Smith & Wesson making knives, but I guess I shouldn't be. But it does have the ability to get the blade open, either with your thumb, or there's a thing back here that allows you to get it open. It does have the Smith & Wesson, it says special tactical on it, and the full handle all the way around is rubberized, and it does have the belt clip on it so you can carry it. Again, it has those rivets that you have to keep tightened, and it does use a locking mechanism on the bottom, which I don't particularly care for, but this one does do a pretty good job of keeping the blade locked open. But yes, it's a interesting pocket knife. That is something that I would carry potentially if I wanted to have something like this on me. This is very similar. The difference here is, and the reason I purchased this, there was a big deal about Tanto style blades. This has the Tanto tip. That's the bend you see there, the point. Plus it also has a decent saw blade on it. This is a Smith & Wesson Extreme Ops. It wasn't a terribly expensive knife, but I liked Smith & Wesson. I have firearms from them, so I figured I would just pick one up as a thing to add to the collection. The handle is all metal. It's not made of any kind of rubber, so keeping a grip on it might be a challenge, especially if it gets wet or anything, but it does have the belt clip on there to help you keep it with you or have it available to you when you want to use it. M-Tech is another company that makes the same style of knives that Smith & Wesson does. You can get the blade going from your finger here at the top. You can also use your thumb to get it going. They also flick open with your hand in a flick. It has the Tanto tip on it, similar to this one, and a lot of the other similar things. It's an all metal handle. There's no rubberized grip on it to help you keep your hands on it, but it also does release from the bottom as a lock blade. And then this is very similar to that. It's also by M-Tech. It also does the flicking open thing from the back. I lost the tab. It came loose at some point because I was carrying it for a little while. But it's the M-Tech Extreme. Interesting, you know, paint on the blade. But it also is the bottom of the handle type lock blade knife. And then finally, since I've covered multi-tools before, this is a little multi-tool I picked up along the way. Can't see what brand this is. It doesn't have a brand marking on it, but it's a very small little multi-tool that you can literally throw in your pocket and just have a little extra tools with you. So you've got a screwdriver, you've got a can opener, you've got a little saw type thing in here as well as a file and Phillips head screwdriver and a punch. So, and then a knife blade, of course. But just it's a spring-loaded. It's spring-loaded, but it folds up real nicely, and you can just throw that in your pocket or a bag, or for a woman, a purse, whatever. But so, anyways, that's this part of the collection. Hope you enjoyed seeing these. And we'll move on to the next collection. Thanks.